And what was going to be a big case became a... I had borrowed robes, went up, took the oath, and when I was admitted by a man who was the clerk, Johann Krichler, who became a judge and a great friend and chairman of Lawyers for Human Rights. And my counsel said, you know, George, you've got to be lucky. You were lucky. These two judges, brothers, both of them, they had to take an oath of allegiance to the British king. And for them, they must have crossed their fingers when they did it. You know, anybody could take an oath of allegiance to the Queen. I mean, what is the trouble? But that led to me becoming a political advocate, defiance campaign, women not taking passes. Those who took them would burn them. And that's how I started as a political advocate, finished up with doing major cases like the Rivonia trial. I defended Bram Fischer himself. And I did too many cases. Nelson Mandela was not recognized by the magistrate in Kempton Park. I appear for the accused. And who are you? My name is Nelson Mandela. Where is your certificate of admission? I don't carry it with me. Let's proceed with the case, and the next day that I will bring it. No, I'm not prepared to recognize you. Cut a long story short, Nelson Mandela had become my friend at the University of the Witwatersrand. I, as young as I was, went to court on his behalf to unseat the magistrate of Kempton Park. And the judge said, who doesn't know who Mandela is? You know, he was the leader of the Defiance campaign. He had defied, and the court was asked to strike him off the roll, and they did not do it because Judge Ramsbottom was a judge, a fair judge, that taken part in the Defiance campaign. There was no disrespect for the law by an attorney. He had done no wrong other than bring to the attention of the public and the judiciary that there was lack of justice. And that was not a reason to prevent a person from doing it. And well, the rest is history. I defended the Namibians, I defended the Zimbabweans. I became notorious for my conduct in the courts. I was careful, but sometimes a little too uppity. And anyway, let me stop there and ask me, what do I think you should be doing in the circumstances that we are living? Since 19 1990, I took part in the writing of the Constitution together with Arthur Chaskelson, who became a close friend and became Chief Justice. And I am now at the Legal Resources Center. I don't know whether you've heard of this organization. We are about 25 lawyers and about 50 auxiliaries that do cases for indigent people throughout the country. We have offices in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Grahamstown, Durban, and we do cases for refugees, for people kicked off land, for people who do not get proper medical service, etc. Anyway, let me stop there and let's have a debate. Yes?
Did the apartheid government ever try to oppress you because you were defending their opposition?
I applied for citizenship once, not granted. Applied for citizenship twice, got a letter from the Minister of the Interior, the clerk, not the son, the father, that it was not in the public interest for me to become a citizen. When I defended Bram Fischer, I got a message from Mr. Foster through his lawyer. You understand Afrikaans? Tell George that his rope is getting short. I didn't tell my wife about the threat. And in order to show you how my family, I had a brother younger than me, who was in business. I was married, I had 3 children. The threat was deport me or detain me, because the rumor was that Bram Fischer is being defended by George Bizos. Surely he is an underground communist. And I know, and I was told, that the security police were told to detain me, torture me, because they believed that I knew where Bram Fischer was hiding. In fact, I did not know, because it would have been too obvious for his counsel and his friend to know. And the support that I had from my brother was, I told him, this is the threat. If we had 3 children, if anything happens, please make sure that you look after the family. And you know, he was in hired premises, his business, and he had a simple answer to me. We may have to ask the landlord to wait for his rent, but whatever may happen, your family will not want. And I was foolhardy, you know. I walked into court and there was a security policeman at the gate, at the front door of the court. Good morning, George. Where's your friend Bram? And I said, you know, Captain Fourie, I don't mind you calling me George, but he is Mr. Bram Fischer, do you? Very cheeky. And I said, you want to know where he is? In my backyard. And then I thought to myself, oh my God. Were you so stupid? He may turn up. he may turn up and, oh, thank you very much. It's okay, I'll have it from the bottle. And turn the place upside down or something, but it didn't happen. I eventually was rescued by the judiciary. I got one of my close friends, Jules Brody, was going to Greece. I said, oh, you're going to Greece? I should call on my mother, who had been here, but was a farmer. She went back. And he went, and my mother took them to lunch. There was an interpreter, the restaurateur spoke English. And Jules asked my mother, when was George last here? This was 72. From 1941, I hadn't been. And my mother told Jules, he hasn't been here since he left. And when Jules came back, he came to see me and he said, George, what's the matter with you? Your village is the most beautiful place by the sea. And your mother told me that you hadn't been there since 1941. Why? I told him that I didn't have citizenship, I didn't have a passport. And this is why I didn't go. And I got a call from Judge Galgut 3 days later. George, you bloody fool. What have I done now, Judge? Jules came to see me and told me that you hadn't been to Greece and the reason why. And I raised it to a meeting of the 22 judges in Pretoria. And I said, and 19 others agreed with me. Only 2 said that it's not our business and you don't have to do anything about it. But that Judge Galgut had gone to the Prime Minister, said, what is this business of treating Bizos this way? And he said, well, you know, he's suspected of being part of the underground. He said, well, I raised it with the 22 judges. 20 of them said that our behavior of our government is completely unfair and he better do something about it. And Foster said, well, let him take a Greek passport. And then said Galgut to me, I said, you know, what are we going to look like if the leading political offenders lawyer has got to travel on a non-South African passport because we refused him citizenship? And that Foster said, okay, if that is how the judiciary feels, tell Bizos to go to the Department of Internal Affairs in Johannesburg, ask for Mr. So-and-so, take 2 photographs with him, and he can take what is called the laissez-passer, you know what that is, a temporary thing. Let him go and come back, apply for citizenship, and we will give it to him. So that was which I did. And you know, the funny thing was, my wife was born here of Greek parents. And the magistrate, you have to go to the magistrate to take an oath of allegiance when you become a citizen. And I went there with my wife, and he said, "What about you? Why didn't you apply for citizenship?" And she told the magistrate, "I was born here. I didn't have to do that." And she said, "Then I want to know from you, why did it take you so long to convince your husband to take South African citizenship?" You know, big joke. I mean, anyway, you know, that's it. But I think I was foolhardy in some ways, in retrospect.